This build was created with the intention of finishing the main quest as quickly and as efficiently as possible via min-maxing. Now, we're going to choose a Breton from High Rock. This will give us extra points in various magical skills, since we are essentially a battle mage. Male or female doesn't really matter. Choose from a list of possible classes. Scroll all the way down and choose Custom. We're going to name ourselves a Sage. We're going to make ourselves very strong. That way we can hit our opponents with more force. We're going to make us less able to resist spells. We're going to allow ourselves to hit our enemies more often and become hit by our enemies less often. We're going to give ourselves more carry weight and fatigue. We're going to make ourselves not so popular with the locals, but it's okay. We'll still be able to get around and do what we need to do. We're going to make ourselves swing our weapon faster. And give ourselves more chances to find delicious loot. Now, I would recommend for max hit points per level, which determines the maximum amount of hit points you gain per level up, to be anywhere between 10 and 30. For the purposes of this build, we're going to choose 20. If I can get it. We'll do 21. Now for our primary skills, all three of them will determine our level up. So, we're going to choose Blunt Weapon. You can also choose Long Blade, but I actually prefer Blunt over Long Blade. Next, we're going to choose Medical, so that we can heal more often when we rest. Restoration, so that we can heal ourselves during battle, or after battle. Jumping is a strange skill most people wouldn't pick. However, I find it quite easy to level up when jumping up and down stairs in dungeons, or when jumping around town without your horse or your cart. Running, holding the shift key to run, is something you're going to be doing very often, or at least I have running bound to shift. Mercantile, so that we can get the best prices. Now, backstabbing. This will allow us to get more damage on our opponents every so often. Same with critical strike. It does essentially the same thing. Alteration. This is important because it allows us to do spells such as free action, which allows us to unbind ourselves from paralysis. It also gives us water breathing, water walking, and spell resistance. Next is Mysticism, if I can get it. This will allow us to use teleportation, which is essentially like mark and recall in Morrowind, or silence our enemies so that they can't cast spells. Next is Thaumaturgy, which allows us to levitate and identify items on our own without having to pay for it. Next, for your final minor skill, you can pick just about anything. You could pick the opposite of what I chose. You could pick Long Blade. It's what I'm going to choose. But really, you can make it anything you want for this particular build. Special advantages. This is what makes this character the most unique. We're going to give ourselves bonus to hit. No, not bonus to hit. Increased magery, 3 times our intelligence in spell points, so that we can become as intelligent as possible. And expertise in Blunt Weapon, or Long Blade, if that's what you chose as your major skill, primary skill. Now, that's all we're going to have for advantages. For disadvantages, we're going to bring this dagger as low as possible so that we can level up quicker and more efficiently. we're going to choose critical weakness to disease, since diseases don't really appear too often in Daggerfall. We're going to give ourselves forbidden material adamantium and orcish. This is because they tend to be, in at least my experience, far more rare and weaker than Daedric, so why would you even want them in the first place? We are at average, a little bit above average. Forbidden weaponry, hand-to-hand. Our character isn't honestly going to be using hand-to-hand much because our weapons don't break very often. And missile weapons, so we are forbidden from using archery. Forbidden shield types. Tower shield. Why would we need a shield when we're wielding a warhammer, which is two-handed? And a phobia to animals. This will bring our dagger much lower, and this will allow animals like bats and grizzly bears to hit us more often, while we hit them less often. But that's okay, because we have an advantage in blunt weapon, which allows us to hit them more often anyway, so it'll even out. Next, you can choose your character's career path by answering 12 questions or automatically generate the background. We're going to answer some questions. Now, after the School of Restoration, what magic have you been studying the longest? Now, you can choose anything except for destruction and illusion, since we don't major primary or minor in those. We're going to, for the sake of this character's abilities, choose either thaumaturgy, mysticism, or alteration. What motivates you into a life adventure? Now, you can choose knowledge, or you can choose riches. Fun, fame, and helping others really don't matter for this character. We're going to choose riches to get a little extra money in the beginning. In between formal study, you spent your time doing what? We're going to practice acrobatics. This will allow us to raise our jumping and running skill earlier on in the beginning. Since childhood, you have saved a cuirass. Why? So that we can have a cuirass early on and defend ourselves. In gratitude for services rendered, the Emperor gave you... Now, most classes would pick an ebony dagger, but we do not tend to use short swords, and we are forbidden from using ebony. So instead, we're going to choose an elven flail. As you grew older, you received additional magical training in. You can choose just about anything except for, once again, destruction and illusion. We're going to level up our thaumaturgy a lot more. As a child, your nickname was Quicksilver. This allows us to raise our running faster. You're friendlier than most with. Now, you can choose any of these that you want. It doesn't matter. I tend to run into a lot of harpies in the game, so I'm going to choose harpies. Of all disagreeable types, you have the most personal hatred for. Now, oddly enough, nobody knows what these answers do. At least UESP doesn't. So we're going to just go with power-mad robber barons. You are intimate friends with a mage to level up our magical skills more. What god, if any, do you worship? Now, this is all going to depend on just where you want to make your home in. We're going to be living in Daggerfall Kingdom, so we're going to choose Kinnereth. You have the most trouble avoiding diseases. Let's lower that even more. We're going to name ourselves. And I really like this face, so we're going to choose that. Now, it's generally best to re-roll until you hit 14 distribution points. There we go. Now, you can put them into whatever you want, but I think I'm going to put 1 in luck, 1 in speed, 1 in endurance, and 10 in strength, and maybe 1 in agility. Now, lastly, we're going to be giving ourselves extra power. We're going to put it all in blunt. We're going to put it all into running. And put it all into critical strike. We're going to allow ourselves to be very high reflexes. And then we're done. Thank you for watching this character build. You have a wonderful day.